Okay, everybody, we are about to start our final lesson for the dreaded pen tool. So I'm going to zoom out so that you can see there are two parts to this lesson. Part A, which looks like a leapfrog, curved lines, and Part B, which is a look at both curved lines and straight lines together in the same connected pathway. So we're going to start with Part A, and I'm going to actually zoom in because there are some very specific things I want you to see as I'm working through this part of the tutorial. So I'm going to grab my dreaded pen tool, make sure I've got that. My pen color is set to black. Over here on the right, I'm going to make sure that I bump the stroke up to 6 so that you can see what I'm doing very easily. And we're going to trace first and then practice below like we did before. So to begin, I'm going to start on the path, on the anchor point that they suggest here, and I'm going to click and pull up like I did with lesson 3 because I know that I want a curved line that's headed in an upward direction. So I'm going to click and pull up, kind of head to the right just a little bit, and I'm going to release. And to continue what I learned in lesson 3, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click and pull down to create that first curve. Good. Now, Illustrator knows that I have a curved line here, but Illustrator thinks that, like in lesson 3, the next anchor point that I click and pull is going to be a continuation curve. So it thinks that I'm going to click and pull up, but in fact, I don't. I want to convert this anchor point from a down anchor point to an up anchor point because I want to head right back up in the same direction. So to do that, when I hover my dreaded pen tool back over that same anchor point, if you see there's a small V or a pointed V right on the side of my pen tool, that stands for convert. So I'm going to convert this anchor point from a down curve anchor point back to an up curve anchor point. And the way I do that is I hover my pen tool back over this same curve, and then I hold down the Option or the Alt key, and I click and pull right straight back up and to the right a little bit again and release, just like I did before on my other curve. Then I move over here to my end point, and I'm going to click and pull down again because that's how I created my first curve. So click and pull down, and there's my curve. Now let's try this again. Let's go back to this anchor point, and I'm going to hover it over till I see that little V appear in the bottom right hand corner of it, a little V right next to the dreaded pen tool icon there, right next to my mouse. Then I'm going to hold down the Option or the Alt key, and then I'm going to click and pull up again. See how my handlebar's headed right back up again? That's what we want. Then I'm going to release it. I'm going to head over here to its end point, click and pull down again. So kind of have this little leapfrog thing going here. Go back to that same anchor point. I'm going to wait. See, I see my little curved V there, my little V for convert. Convert this anchor point. So I'm going to Option click and pull up. Release. And then just regular click and pull down. Good. Then I'm going to Option click. See, when I see my little V appear, Option, click and pull up. Release. And click and pull down. So I know that was kind of fast. I'm going to Command Z. I'm going to undo everything that I did. And we're going to try this one more time. I'm going to do it right below here, though. So I'm going to start my demonstration in my work area. So I'm going to head down here. And I'm going to start by just making an arbitrary first point. And I'm going to click and pull up like we did before. Click and pull up. A little bit to the right. Good. Release that. Now I'm going to come over here and do my first curve. So I'm going to click and pull down. Okay, that looks totally normal, just like it did on the other layout. Great. Now I'm going to go back up here to this anchor point and see my little V appear when I get my mouse, when I put my dreaded pen tool back over that same anchor point. I'm going to hold down the Option or the Alt key, which is the same thing. I'm going to Option click and pull straight back up in that same up and right direction. Release everything. Come over here where I'd like my endpoint to be. Click and pull down. Sweet. I go back, hover my mouse, Option click and pull up and over. And then I'm going to click and pull down. You can make your curves as skinny or as wide or as tall or as short as you want. I'm going to Option click and pull up, and way over for this one. And I'm going to come over here and then just click and pull down. This is a strangely shaped curve. Again, I'm going to Option click and pull up and over, not as much. And then I'm going to come over here, click and pull down. Okay. And then again for my last one, I'm going to Option click and pull up again. Then find my endpoint where I'd like it to be, click and pull down. So that's lesson A. Now we're going to go up and try lesson B. So to do that, I'm going to click to an arrow tool and then back to my dreaded pen tool because I know that I don't want a huge line from the bottom back up to the top. So I'm going to start on this first anchor point. I'm going to click and pull up just like I did before, a little bit to the right, and I'm going to click and pull down, making our first initial curve like we're so used to doing now. Now, in order to convert this anchor point from a curvy anchor point to a straight line anchor point, all I have to do is when I hover my mouse, I see the little V appear again. I'm going to click once, and then I'm just going to come over here where I'd like my straight line anchor point to be, click and drop, just like we did before. Now, because I want this to be curved again, I'm going to option click over it again instead of just regular click. So I got my V that appears right there, and just to kind of further zoom in so you can look at it, when I put my dreaded pen tool over that, see the little V that appears, that lets me option click. This time I'm going to pull down because that's where I want my curve to go. I want it to go down and to the right a little bit. Release. Then we're going to click and pull up so that our curve is complete. Then see our little V appear. Then we're just going to regular click once and release. Then move to the end point, click and drop. Okay, then we're going to option click and pull up, release, and then click and pull down. So that gives us how to convert an anchor point, again, from a curved anchor point to a straight line anchor point. So I'm going to come back over here and click off my pen tool and click back to it. Then I'm going to go below here in my workspace and I'm going to recreate this curved and straight line diagram that's above. So I'm going to click and pull up to start. Then I'm going to click and pull down to end that first curve. Good. Then I'm going to, when my V appears here, I'm going to click once. Then I'm going to move across till I got them lined up. Click and drop. Okay. And then since my V is still there, I'm going to option click and pull down because I want my curve to go in that direction. Release. Come back over here and line up these anchor points. Click and pull up so my curve appears. Good. Then I'm going to just, when my V appears here, I'm going to just click and release. Then I'm going to come over here where my other anchor point is, click and drop. Then I'm going to wait for my V to appear, option, click and pull up because I want my curve to head upwards. Then I'm going to click and pull down at the end there. Okay. So practice, practice, practice. Send me your screenshots. Remember to file, save as, your last name, path 4. File, save as, Perino, path 4. Save. Make sure you screenshot that for me and reply to my email so that I can see that you've completed that. And we'll move on tomorrow with the next lesson. Good luck, everybody, and don't forget to ask questions.